Dr. King knew me and Andy Young, and they knew my work, so they called on me because they needed someone to go down and be assistant director to Jose Williams in the South. As soon as I got there, the next day, Jose, come to find out they were going to have the program, but they didn't have a place to house everybody. It was 3 weeks before. Every day Andy Young would call me up and he said, "Have you heard anything from the Lord yet?" I said, "No." And I'd get mad, finally, I was just going crazy because then we started calling up places to see if we could find tents to put them up because, time was running out. And I guess they were getting pressures from the people that were putting it on. Where we're going because they had to meet. And we had a training for a couple of days before they sent the kids out to the Wild Blue Yonder. So one morning, he called me up. He said, "Gwen, have you heard anything? How's your faith this morning?" I said, "Andy, you got to stop this mess." I said, "Because it's just too close and you're just playing." He said, "Well, the Lord spoke to me this morning." I'm sure they had a lot of pressure because a lot of people were behind this. They got the Red Cross to move their program so that we could house all the students, 3,500 students in the complex down there. So 3,500 students all stayed there. And we had an orientation for 2 days. And we had...
Did you have any orientation before you started doing orientation for the students?
Did you?
No, did you?
I asked you, did you?
No.
So that means no.
No.
You didn't sit down with Jose and
No.
nothing happened. So they just said, get out there and train these kids, right?
Well, I didn't do the training, but they had trainers. They had everything under control.
Oh,
I was
okay.
his assistant, and when he couldn't go out, I would go out and troubleshooter and mama and sometimes the Ku Klux Klan was surrounding the places, and I'd have to go out there. And of course, I said, "Let's close it down and get the hell out of here."
Right.
This is all Dr. King's operation.
Okay.
And they had field staff to go to the major colleges and universities in the United States and
recruit these people. And then they showed up in Atlanta.
Yeah, they had to pay their own way, and then they had to be willing to stay in the homes of black people and work on the programs that they wanted to and not put themselves in jeopardy. And there's a lot of rules and regulations. And out of all them, we only had one college that we didn't want to stay in the home, so we sent them back.
What kind of problems did you have to deal with when you went out to the field to deal with them?
Well, being arrested, being harassed, being scared, didn't like the food in jail, in the Ku Klux Klan. And Dr. King tells the story. He said only Gwen would do something like that. We went to Allendale, South Carolina, and the kids were complaining. They were in jail. They didn't like the food. So I complained, and so they arranged for the black people in the community to feed them. And then the place was dirty, and so I had them clean up the jails. I didn't know what I was doing, but I was doing something. I was keeping it. They didn't have to live in filth. And
how'd you pull that off?
How'd I pull it off? I just asked them to do it.
And they were just afraid of you, and so they did.
I was Mrs. Green from California.
That's it, the California thing. That works a lot.
I mean, I would go in town to a store, and they'd say, "How are you, Miss Green?" And I said, "How you know me?" "Oh, we know you from California." And when we had marches, I don't know if I told you about that.
What kind of, did you go into a black-owned store or?
Oh no, white store.
And they were polite to you?
Oh yeah. The sheriff called me up and asked me where was I going to stay. And I said, "Oh, well, we're going to stay in some of the houses, the people's houses, and in the office." He said, "Oh no, Miss Green, you don't have to stay there. You know, there's a civil rights bill. That's against the law. They can't keep you out of housing." I said, "Oh." He said, "No, if you have any trouble, just call me and I'll see that you get." I said, "Sheriff, I'm here to get them so my people can vote. You get them to vote. Don't worry about where I'm staying." But I mean, he was so, "Oh no, you don't have to sleep on the floor." I said, "I'll sleep anywhere. I want them to be able to vote, and that's what we're here for."
So the sheriff was being kind of cooperative and protective, but the county clerks were still not registering people?
No, they didn't register. They didn't want. It was, I think, every 120 days they would register them.
Once every 4 months they could register, and then they
Limited.
closed down registration in between?
We didn't come down there for protection. We came down there for, to vote, to get the right to vote.
Uh-huh.
And I mean, it's just didn't make sense to us marching down the street and having all these people, and our folks still can't vote. So I mean, I didn't need to go to a meeting or go to college or anything else. I knew that wasn't the way it was played. So that's what we did. And when we got ready to leave, the state troopers, we had one guy from itty bitty Mississippi, and he could sing. Oh, he sang like a bird. And when we'd have our rallies, and the troopers said, "We've been taping his music. We don't want to go. We want to stay and listen to the music." I said, "Sorry, Charlie, we're gone now." And the interesting thing is, when I came down there, the staff, the Justice Department was there.
Uh-huh.
See, everywhere we went, the Justice Department and were behind the scenes. And so the man, I think his name was Mr. Morris, he came, and the staff, I did this before I got there, conned him into paying for to get the kids out of jail, and said I was coming to bring the money. So he put the money up. But when I came, I didn't have any money. He came to the plane, he almost jumped in the plane. He said, "Where's the money? Where is it?" I said, "What do you mean?" He said, "The money." I said, "What money?" He said, "They said you would bring the money that I put up to get them out of jail." I said, "I don't have any money. We have to set up committees and see if the local people won't raise the money." I don't know whatever happened. He was sick. Anyway, the headline said, Justice Department pays for civil rights leaders to be out of jail. It was dangerous. Americus was really, they killed someone down there in Americus when, just before I came, a black boy. It was real scary. Dark. I've never been in such darkness in my life. And we were in North Carolina, and we were having a retreat, recruiting black kids from the tobacco fields in North Carolina. Baptist Usher Board's facility we were staying at. So Floyd McKissick, you know him? Yeah, but Floyd and I were the persons that running the thing. So we got down there and everybody got situated. So Floyd said, "Well, why don't you go back in town and spend the night, and I'll be over, and then you come the next night, and I'll go in town. There's no need, both of us, everything's all right." Well, when I got back the next day, they came running, and everybody called me Mama. Mama, you should have been here last night. Said the Citizen Council surrounded the place, and the guy said, the big guys saying, "We didn't have our peace, we didn't have nothing." I said, "What'd you do?" He said, "We went and got pots and pans and got in the trucks and honked horns and yelled and screamed." And he said, finally, from behind came the Justice Department. And that's when they said, "Anytime you're out there, we're always behind you in the back." But they said, ran them away, ran them off. But the government probably knew about it and wanted to work, not to fail, because they couldn't afford to have 3,500 college students, mostly white, out there getting killed. So they're going to protect us, even though, they were not openly saying they're for voting rights, but they were there because we had too much protection. And we had plenty of money, and we only two kids had to go back home, but other than that, the rest of them stayed and had a wonderful experience.